Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky of Break of Day Capital. I talk to leading experts to discuss a wide range of subjects to educate investors on best-in-class practices to build legacy wealth and positively impact communities. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky with Break of Day Capital. Be sure to join our Facebook group, Asset Management Mastery, where we have a great community of thousands of like-minded individuals sharing resources and best practices. Hey everyone, we have launched the BODC Multifamily Impact Fund. Invest with a trusted operator with a track record of success. Our fund offers diversification, risk mitigation, tax benefits, and stringent acquisition criteria. If you'd like to learn more, head over to our website at breakofdaycapital.com.
Choosing the right insurance coverage for multifamily properties isn't that complicated if you know who to talk to. At the Garzella Group, we're uniquely qualified to help you navigate the range of policy choices you have, and we're committed to saving you 30% in the process. We do intensive market research and have nationwide relationships, so we can find coverage other insurance brokers simply can't. We should talk. Go to quotenow.biz and we'll start the conversation.
Today on the podcast, we have Isabelle Guarino. Isabelle is a two-time best-selling author and is the COO of Residential Assisted Living Academy. Thanks for joining us, Isabelle. Can you start by telling the listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I own and operate residential assisted living homes and show other real estate investors how to do that too, how to do good and do well with senior housing.
Love it. Love it. So there's 77 million baby boomers in the country. Roughly 120,000 people each month are turning 85, and 70% of them need help with their activities for daily living. So what does residential assisted living, or RAL, do for short? As I believe there's different levels of care.
Yeah, so most people, when they think of assisted living, they think of a big box facility, a Brookdale, Sunrise, Atria, right? Like one of those large commercial facilities that everyone dreads going to. And that's not what we do at all. That's the antithesis of what we are. We do residential homes being used for senior housing. So depending on where you are in the country, you're allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. You still need that help. Like you said, 70% need help with activities of daily living. So bathing, toileting, walking, transferring, even just getting up, eating, brushing their hair, brushing their teeth. And so instead of moving into a big box facility where you're just a number and it's long hallways and impersonal staff, you can move into one of these homes that's not home-like, it's an actual home. And it costs the same, but the quality of care is so much better.
And people can do this all over the United States. It's not, obviously there's a higher density of older people in, let's say, Florida or maybe some Belt states, but this is something that is going on all across the U.S., correct?
We have students in all 50 states. We've owned and operated our own homes for the last 14 years, and we've been training people how to do this for the last 10 years. So yeah, there's homes, 30,000 group homes across our country today, of which thousands of those are representative of our students who we've trained how to own and operate these homes. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. And so what are some of the good operators do well? And what are the mistakes that people do or make when they first get into this?
I think that the way we show you how to do it is to be more of a passive or hands-off owner operator. So you're purchasing the real estate, renovating it, getting it licensed, getting that approval through the state, and then hiring those key players who are going to run the day-to-day business within the home so that you don't have to do that, right? I spend about 5 hours a week on my 3 care homes. They're about 45 minutes down the road from me, and I visit them every other month. And so that's what we show people how to do. And so hiring those key players is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. They get into this and either they think that they can do it all themselves, right? Maybe they have some sort of medical background, they're a doctor or nurse or something like that, and they just bought themselves a job. And that is not what we're doing at all, and not what we want you to do either. If you want to get involved in this, we want to show you how to make those key hires so that you can work on, not in your business, because you want to be cash flowing and become hands-free. You don't want to be that day-to-day person getting that call when someone doesn't show up for their shift. So hiring is huge.
Yeah, because there's a lot of qualifications you need to have. Why don't you talk about that and that key hire to help run your business?
Yeah. So in the real estate world, it's kind of like a property manager. In the RAL world, it's a licensed administrator. So they're doing the hiring, firing, onboarding, training, retaining of your caregivers. They're doing the marketing and they're touring new families through the home so that their seniors sign up to live with you. They're doing that intake. They're taking care of all of the activities and all of the independent contractors like chefs, handyman, landscapers, whoever it may be. So that is your key player, that licensed administrator. And then your caregivers who are doing the day-to-day care of the residents, and then those independent contractors. So making sure that you're making great hires that fit the company culture you are trying to emulate in your home.
And so, I'm in the multifamily space, and we have, property management companies that range from managing 50 assets to 50,000 assets. And really big communities. Is that something that's also in the residential assisted living space where I hire a company that has that kind of breadth, or is it more of like an individual that's that property manager that has that experience and maybe is running maybe a few properties for me, and that's really it?
A typical administrator can hang their license on a certain amount of homes, and they limit that amount because back in the day, you'd have one administrator hanging their license on 500 homes, and they weren't actually doing the job of being there with the families, with the seniors. So now most states have a limit on how many you can have your license on, but it's full time for an administrator to oversee somewhere between 2 and 4 homes. So we highly suggest that people have a 3-pack. 3 homes within 20 to 40 minutes of each other. That way you can share your resources and share your staff, like your manager.
Awesome. Let's dive into some of the economics of that for someone that is kind of new to this to kind of wrap their head around it. So what is there a particular type of home or, that you're targeting, a cost? What are you going to be able to charge? What kind of passive income in a middle range that you can expect from something like this?
Yeah, so a really, really, really middle of the line example right now. The average cost in our country today for assisted living is $5,500 per month per resident. And so that includes our friends who are on government funding, as well as our friends on private pay. Depending on your state and where you are, like you in California, your average rates are more like $7,500. And so you might be paying a premium based on where you live. Now, if you need memory care, that's going to add to your bottom line. If it's private bedroom, that's going to add, right? So many different features and amenities in the home might increase the cost that it takes for you to live in the home. But average, let's call it $5,500 per month. We already said you can have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So we'll go in the middle, 10 for easy math. That's bringing us in $55,000 of monthly gross income on this home. Your mortgage these days, it's probably going to run you 10 grand depending on where you are. And it's got to be a pretty decent home in a nice area. So again, average rate right there, 10K for your debt service or mortgage. And then your overhead. There's a lot of things to pay for within this home, like staffing, food, electricity, cable, activities, you name it, liability insurance, all these different things. It'll probably run you about $35,000 a month. So that one home should be cash flowing you $10,000 a month or $120K a year. And you aren't working in it. This is literally a, property that you have that kind of runs and operates itself. And that's a really cool thing right there.
Absolutely. Passive income is the dream. Um, so I assume, we talk about California and the high rent. It's very, very tenant friendly. I assume the same things apply when it comes to residential assisted living as well.
This isn't a tenant landlord agreement. It's a residency care plan. So there's actually, like, people ask all the time, what do you do if they stop paying and you have to kick them out, right? That would be equivalent to you dropping off your child at preschool and never picking them up. They'd call CPS and you would get arrested for child neglect. It's the exact same thing in a care home. If you drop your loved one off and you stop paying, it's senior neglect, and we call the cops and you get arrested. So people aren't signing up to pay $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a month and then just toodaloo, grandma, have fun. That's not what's happening, right? These families, typically, we are talking to them and doing that vibe check in the beginning. Like, is this the right home for them? Is this something that they are going to be able to afford? Because the average stay is 3.5 years for a senior in a care home. So we really do need to do our due diligence in that realm. But if someone starts to run out of funds, you have that conversation with them. A lot of times they'll come to you and they're not going to say, we can't pay anymore. They say, hey, we thought mom was going to live for a year and it's been 2.5. And now money's starting to get tight. Do you have any other options? And that's where, if you have all private bedrooms and bathrooms, maybe it's one of the times where you say, yes, instead of charging them $7,000 a month for the private room, we're going to put you in a shared room, with Sally Sue, and it's $5,000 a month. Now they get to stay in the same home with the same, other residents with them in the same care, and it's a spend down option for you. I don't want people to start with all shared bedrooms, but having a couple options is always a good way to go. So when it comes to being tenant friendly, this isn't really that tenant landlord relationship. We can literally kick people out whenever we want, whenever we need, and we're not kicking grandma out to the streets. We're finding another quality care home that can suit their needs, whether it's their medical needs or their financial needs. We have to do right by the senior.
So as a multifamily guy, I can go to Yardi and CoStar for data. Where do people go for data on when they want to do research for RAL?
In the residential space, there's not those big conglomerates like you guys have in the multifamily space. We created the only association that represents all 30,000 group homes, the RAL National Association. So we do a lot of surveys and studies and try to get that information out to the public, but there's not really a huge, large database. Where you can go is to a long-term care insurance company, Genworth. Genworth has a great website that can share with you the average cost of care in your area. So when you go to genworth.com/cost of care, you can type in where you live, Manhattan Beach, and it will pop up the average rates of care in your area. And so that's a great way to kind of determine if your market is going to be a good one or maybe not. But then you're going to have to go down to the nitty gritty, state by state level, and even county by county level, because there is no national governing policy over all of these homes saying, this is what it's called, this is how many residents, these are the rules and regs. Nope, it's all state by state. There's 22 different names for RAL across our country. In California, it's RCFE, Residential Care for the Elderly. In Pennsylvania, it's PCH, Personal Care Home. In Tennessee, it's Home for the Aged, right? Why so many names? Why so much confusion? Who knows? Hopefully there will be some sort of, conglomerate who can come together and kind of unify what's going on. And we'd love to be a part of that. But right now it's still a very kind of underground niche industry that not a lot of people even know about.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone wants to get started, they join your coaching program, or talk about what are the things that you guys do to help someone be successful.
Yeah, we do have training options available. We have an online course as well as a live training in Phoenix, Arizona. In both of those options, we go through step by step how to start, own, and operate your own home. So we talk about finding the home, renovating it, if you're going to buy an existing one or build one from the ground up. We talk about all those options so you understand timelines and price points. We talk about raising capital, so you don't have to use your own funds for this, whether you're using an SBA 7A loan, working a syndication, private money, hard money, bank money. There's so many options to raise capital for this project. And then marketing to fill the home, getting those residents in the door and locked in on those residency care agreements, as well as staffing the home and all those different components along the way. So we really show you A to Z, how to find, fund, and fill the home. And it's a whole lot of fun too, because this industry is really one of those things that's kind of, like we said, just that little underground thing. 80% of this industry is run by immigrants, and they're very mom and pop. A lot of these homes, the owner operator lives in the home and they work in the home and they do everything themselves. That's not what we do or show you how to do. But it is good to know that, because the competition, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead running it as a true business owner operator and not just a mom and pop shop.
Yeah, I'm shocked that it's only 80%. That seems like a huge opportunity for people.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the silver tsunami is coming. We're currently 1.3 million beds short. And as you said in the beginning, there's 76 million baby boomers. Right now, the silent generations who's in assisted living, there's only 47 million of them. So we're about to add 30 million people to the pile, and we're already 1.3 million short. The NIC is projecting we're only building 50,000 beds per year. This is a mega crisis that our country is going to face, or one of the biggest opportunities of our lifetimes. It just depends what side of the wave you want to be on.
Right. So I'm curious, where do you see this industry evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
I see a lot more people getting into this industry because it's really hard to cash flow on single family homes right now. You're just not making that same dollar that you used to when it comes to single family rentals. Even Airbnb is becoming more difficult, with Marriott coming in, buying up entire neighborhoods and doing it a lot easier, faster, cheaper than the solopreneur could. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna see a lot more people getting into this. I'm gonna say that there's gonna be a lot more tech involved, and I love that. There's so much incredible tech that can be added to these homes to really help decrease falls, increase times of how soon someone can attend to someone. There's just so much great tech that can be incorporated. And I also see, on a scary side, there's going to be a huge shortage of caregivers. That's the number one most in-demand job in our country right now. And I don't have a solution for that, but it's a scary thought, thinking that we're going to have so many seniors who need care and no one there to care for them. So to me, it's about bringing the best thing to the market, and how can I retain and love on my staff so that they want to stay with me and not go anywhere else.
All right. So you mentioned tech. What's one of your favorite tech tools that you've instituted in the last year or so?
We use an incredible tool. It's called Care Predict, and it is wearables that all the seniors have. So it's like a Fitbit, an Apple Watch. It's literally like a watch, and it detects falls. So if they fall quickly, it alerts the caregivers. It's geo-tracking them within the home. It also tracks how long from when they press, hey, I need help, or they fall, how long it takes from the caregiver to come to them. So we can now report, hey, we have a 90-second response time. The big boxes, the Brookdale Sunrise Atrium, their response time is more like 8 hours. It's terrible. They should all be arrested and thrown straight to jail, right? It's horrible in those homes. They should be illegal, but they're not. And, follow the money. That tells a lot of the story of what's going on there. But when we can start to market and promote that, when we can start to say, hey, our ratios are 4-1 or 5-1, and theirs are 30-1, 40-1, it's going to start painting the picture, just like Uber did to taxi or Airbnb did to hotels. People are going to start realizing, oh my God, that's horrible, and this is so much better. So I love Care Predict. They can track UTIs. They can do so many amazing things. And so that's been a really cool thing that we've incorporated in our homes.
I love it. That sounds awesome. I'm a scale guy. So I'm looking, when you talk about big box versus all these smaller homes, and obviously you've got that one key person you said that can do 2 to 5 homes, let's say. Are there people out there that are really scaling this with just the homes? Because obviously there's tremendous value in economies of scale. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have students who they have a vision of having 100 luxury homes, packaging them up and selling them to the hedge funds. And if that's the direction you want to go, I think they're on home number 27 right now. They're out in Denver area, and they're killing it. They're doing great. But most people who get into this, they say, we've had a lot actually of big box owners come to us and say, I don't even care that I was making more money over there. I can't sleep with myself at night, knowing the abuse and the neglect that's happening. And so they want to get into this and say, even if I'm only cash flowing 10 or 20, or if you have a home that's luxurious and you have 16 residents, typically the cash flow is more like 30 to 40 a month. But I was sharing average examples for you there with the 10 bed on the lower end. So it ranges. But if you had, 100 of those cash flowing you 40K a month, you're doing pretty good, and it's not all these different units where you have such high turnover and you're having to spend all of this effort on fixing each one every single year. This is kind of more not set it and forget it, but you do have to put a little effort in, but 5 hours a week, it's worth it.
What else should someone know before diving into this that I haven't asked?
Man, there's so many things, which is why we show people how to do this. Because I get text messages and calls every day that say, oh man, your training was too expensive, but now I bought this home and how do I get residents? And I'm like, so many things to learn. But one of the biggest things to consider is liability insurance is not as much as you probably think it is. At $2 to $3 per day per resident, it's a line item, $900 a month, nothing to be afraid of. An HOA can't tell you no because of the Federal Fair Housing Act. It's discriminatory against disabled people to say that you can't have this in a neighborhood. It's typically zoned residential, and there's a massive need no matter where you are in the country. I mean, raise your hand if you're getting older or know someone who is, right? You don't have to just go to a market like Florida or Arizona. You can do this anywhere. We have a student who literally last week just opened 2 care homes out in New Hampshire, and she's the first care home out in New Hampshire. So they have been begging for other options than just the big box. And now she's got a waiting list out the wazoo because she just brought this to market. So I do see more and more people getting into it, but the sooner you can get into it and the sooner you can build that brand and reputation, the better.
I love it. Thank you so much for adding a ton of value on this. I've had friends kind of talk about, getting into this and asking a lot of questions. And I'm going to say you've got to listen to this podcast and check it out because a ton of wealth of knowledge from you. So where can listeners find out more about you and your training program?
Yeah, you can head to RAL101.com. We've got free books, free webinars. You can schedule a call with me or the team right there and follow us on social media. We're on pretty much everything, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, at RAL Academy.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Isabelle. This is Gary Lipsky signing off. I'll be back next week with another informative episode on the Real Estate Investor Podcast. To all of our listeners, thanks for joining us. And if you like this episode, please head over to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe, and leave a review, as it will help us reach more people. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do at Break of Day Capital, head over to our website at breakofdaycapital.com and sign up for our newsletter and fill out our investor application. We'll talk to you next week.